We are live.
Right. Greetings and salutations, test takers. This is the Series 7 Guru coming to you from my off-grid studio, getting our kicks on historic Route 66 with our always very special guest, the Test Geek himself, managing member Brian Lee of Test Geek Exam Prep LLC. Tell us what exam you're taking and where you're joining us from. If you miss any of our Tuesdays, we do this Tuesday, 5 p.m. Arizona time. It's available as a podcast replay. So you're welcome to find that podcast replay. And if you're watching in the replay, well, thank you so much. If you do have a question content, we'll do some housekeeping. And if you do have a question, tell Brian and I what exam you're taking. It's not necessary, but it's helpful because how they test on the SIE versus how they test on the 7 could be completely different. So SIE or S7 or S24, whatever the case may be. If you're looking for a free supplement, the best free supplement for NASA and FINRA Exam Prep is my YouTube channel. We're coming up 6 million views, 45,000 plus subscribers. Crazy. Now there's 1,400 videos there. And, if you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. So if you're taking your SIE, I have 3 playlists. The playlists are in suggested watch order. The videos are in suggested watch order. It's a buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't. If you're looking for a particular topic, use the search bar. Brian and I very often on Tuesday are answering the same question over and over again. And you could put that in the channel search bar and then you poof, we would magically appear. If it's from a Tuesday night or any video I have available would pop up. You put accrued interest or margin, whatever. Again, that's the way to find a particular topic. Now, if you're looking for a paid supplement, I think the best paid supplement is a Kaplan Q Bank if you don't already have one. It's by far best in class, over 3,600 questions, performance tracker. And you can get that for Series 7, for example, for $55.80 with my Guru 15 discount code at checkout. If you're looking for distillation, my God, the Kaplan 65 book is 700 pages or some crazy thing. Wow. My channel's 1,400 videos. And there's no better distillation of testable content than Brian's video courses. And he's been kind enough to give our viewers a 20% discount code on his content. So that's about $100. Kaplan Q Bank's about 50, 60. So if you're looking for a paid supplement all in, it'd be 160. On my booking page, almost everything is not free. Everything on my YouTube page is free. Almost nothing on the booking page is. But if you go to deantinneytutoring.setmore.com, there are some free things there. If you win the coaching call, if you go there, you'll see the coaching call link. And you just can sign yourself up for your coaching call that you win. You don't win tutoring at a date and time of your choice. You win a coaching call at a date and time of my choice. That's what you're winning. Now, all free content. We have a book club. We're doing Bill Gates's source code this month for our book club reading. That's free. We do a weekly Q&A. That's free. We do office hours. That's free. So we do have some free content. The other disclosure I would make is that free content always takes a backseat to paid content. So, people get frustrated sometimes when that free stuff is being moved around. But, today somebody offers me $900 to do a shared screen practice test. I'm going to say yes. And that means the book club's going to meet next week. Right? So we have communities. We have a Facebook community called Baby Brokers Doing Hat Tricks. You're not alone. So get a tribe going. Join a tribe. Baby broker is a term of endearment. It's not a derogatory term. It's, rookies in the securities industry. A hat trick is 3 successes in a limited time frame. I hear Ovechkin had a hat trick the other night. Brian, what's he like, 40 years old or some crazy thing? Man, these old guys, man, we're still clicking, Brian and I as well. Anyways, hat trick is SIE 766 or SIE 666. We also have some Reddit communities. We have a subreddit, R Series 6, for SIE and 7, R Series 7, for all the NASA exams, 63, 65, 66, R Series 66, for all the principal exams, 4, 9, 10, 24. And 57 isn't principal, but that would be the place, and that's our Reddit for Series 24. As we said, this is available as a replay after we're done this evening. All right, let's go see what we got in the queue, Brian, and see who we can help. Boom. Taking the 63 next Wednesday. Been scoring high 70s and mid 80s on custom quizzes using Notman. I think, Rosa, that sounds great. I think you're right where you need to be. And so I'm not sure. Is there a question here? Let's see. There's another one. Would you mind explaining summary action taken by administrator? So I was in the Marine Corps, Rosa. And in the Marine Corps, we have the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And we have what's called a summary court-martial. A summary court-martial, Rosa, means you're not going to get due process. Time is of the essence. So usually you have due process. You're going to have your exam as a legal exam, right? And summary action means you aren't getting due process. I love Brian's explanation of this. And let me give Brian his whiteboard there. Go ahead, Brian.
That's it. Yeah, we discussed this last week, too. It's
we great. Sure did. Maybe it was Rosa. Maybe she's asking again.
Maybe. I have a very deep feeling to this concept because I still remember like it was yesterday reading the same crap in the textbook and having to reread it 4 times to finally get it. Because the solution, for me anyway, was like 3 paragraphs later. Essentially, what it means is the administrator can take action now, just like Dean said, without due process. But essentially, there can be no final order by the administrator until there's an opportunity for a hearing. So just the way I simplify it is, summary action simply means it's a temporary order until we have the official final hearing, and then we can make our final determination. But it's something that's pressing. He's stealing everybody's jewelry and cash and money from all of us customers. We're going to shut them down now.
That's right. And the point is there'd be more harm. Yeah. More harm. So your due process rights aren't as important as the harm that you would cause if we didn't take this summary action.
That's
right. So powers of the administrator, jurisdiction is what this comes under. Yeah. I would tell you, Rosa, if you miss your 63, it's not going to be because of a summary.
That's right.
Testing on memory aids for options. Well, Paula, Brian and I both agree that memory aids should be used after you understand it to reinforce it with you. But do we have memory aids for options? We certainly do. I have a couple, and I'll see if Brian wants to add to it. I have T is to remind us what can happen to an option contract. There's only 3 things that can happen to an option contract. T, it can be traded, it can be exercised, it can expire. Right? Whenever there's a 3 thing, get ready for the accept format. You know, we should know, Paula, that at expiration, if the contract has intrinsic value, it will be exercised. If at expiration, there's no intrinsic value, it will expire worthless. We can't not use call up and put down. Call up and put down is just key. Call up, put down. Call up is good for a couple of things. Both intrinsic value, market price up, and break even, strike price plus. Yeah, I used to do options aerobics, Brian. Sorry, do you do that?
I do too.
Call up, put down. Call up. So.
I used to go into the Jane Fonda options aerobics.
Yeah, there you go.
Nobody knows who Jane Fonda is anymore. So I don't even
We're dating ourselves. But Paula, in terms of the options aerobics, call up, put down. You know, they say, okay, they're asking me about intrinsic value. I'm just going to open my eyes. I'm going to look at the market price and the strike price, call up. And if the market price is up, it has introduced. Oh, damn, it's a put. It's a put. Reset. Okay, put down. I'm going to look and see market price. So that would be for our basic options. For our spreads, cal and push are good reminders about call, add to the lower for break even, put, subtract from the higher. Good reminder. If you're trying to identify a spread, a good memory aid, Paula, is soda. Same option, different action. Call, put, different action, buy, sell. We could use bulls to determine bullish or bearish. That stands for because you are long the lower strike price in any spread. If you're long the lower strike price, say, I bet I can tell you bull or bear in 2 seconds. Bull, bear, bull, bear, bull. You know, if you don't tell people you're using the bull trick because you are long the lower strike price, they're going to think you're a genius. Straddles certainly should know silo. short inside, long outside, or you could use, again here now, it would be instead of soda, right? It would be SADO, same action, different option, right? Same action, buy, sell, different option, call and put. Hey, am I missing anything, Brian? There's lots of them.
No, the one thing I'm just going to add to all of that, because
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what you just said in 13 seconds.
Yeah.
You need a supplement for options. Those textbooks suck. Get Dean's videos on option, or get my Series 7 video, so we can take you step by step and you can see all of those little.
Yeah, Brian and I,
supplement options.
One of the reasons we like doing our stuff together is because we're simpatico, and we know how confusing it can be to get different voices in your head where people are telling you to do it one way or another way. Lots of ways to do options. As long as you're getting the right answer, I'm all for it. But I call it an options matrix. What do you call it? The beauty chart, or you call it the?
Well, no, it's an options aerobics chart.
Aerobics. Okay, so basically the same general idea. So you won't be confused if you're watching a Brian video and then a Dean video, or vice versa. So that's how we do it. We can try and keep it simple, right? There's 2 types of contracts: calls and puts. You can either buy them or sell them. So there's 4 basic option positions. I kind of think of Brian like Domino's telling me they got 17 million different pizzas. I go, really? I mean, we have marinara sauce, we got pepperoni, we got some cheese, and then everything comes from those 4. So from those 4 is how we build all those other different things, right?
That's right. Yeah.
All right. So I hope that was helpful. I will link, Paula, to my introduction to options video. I have a playlist. I have hundreds of options on videos. But the first 4 for your Series 7 are the most important. The first video is introduction to option contracts. The second is basic options. I just posted a tutoring replay on that, but there's a lecture. Stock plus options and advanced options. Those are the 4. All in about 4 hours. Hi, Dean and Brian. Still in my 30-day period to retake the 65. Man, Yasha, that 65, Brian and I just think is such a bear. I mean, that thing is tough. There's no real narrative thread to it. I have quite a few folks that are going into the cave to slay that dragon again. I just worked with a young lady today, and she just was second guessing herself. I said, you've got to be confident on that 65 in your answers. Her answers were right, but she would say, oh, well, maybe they meant they don't. And, you can't be your own worst enemy on this thing. You got to trust your answers. She told me, Brian, that last time she created that subset, which I don't believe in, like, would you like to look at this again? No, thank you. I want to, answer it and be done with it. Yeah. And I said, give yourself some grace, assign it to the universe. I'm with you. 65 is a slog for sure. We're with you in spirit, Yasha.
Yeah.
SIE from Newport News. All right, Antonio. Listen, Antonio, I always tell people with an SIE, I've got a guy I'm working with on the SIE. And to be honest with you, Antonio, I really don't think, I don't want to hurt the guy's feelings, but I don't think he really needs tutoring on the SIE. But he wants to be sure. And what I really love about him is he's over learning his SIE. He is so competent on the SIE. He's going to blow that away. And I am so excited for him because that sets himself up for the next leg of his testing journey. Remember, we talked about the hat trick, go 1-0. That's the beginning of 3-0. In his case, it's a 7. And he's going to be pretty good. He's got some more stuff to do. Or if you're going to 6, you could almost test out of it. So make sure you overlearn that SIE. You don't want to barely pass that SIE. You want to kick its butt, come out strong, get on to the next testing victory. Brian, your thoughts about SIE?
Yeah, I get a lot of requests for that too. For people that haven't even started studying for it. Yeah. So, boy, if you're looking for tutoring for SIE and you've got 6 and 7 and 65 and all that other stuff, I generally try to talk them out of it and say, I give them my blog. Here's the process. Here's what you need to go through.
Yeah,
I love Newport News. It's one of my favorite towns in Virginia. I love it.
Yeah, well, I big Navy operations in Newport News. I was in the Marine Corps, and so the Navy is the taxi cabs for the Marine Corps. I'm joking, but but yeah, I spent a lot of time on Navy bases in Virginia. We're doing well. I'm doing well. Brian, you doing well? I haven't talked to Brian since last week.
Any better, it'd be against the law.
I'm the only thing I would say is Brian's getting tired of me whining. I'm having difficulty holding everything together. This is my second month, coming up on my second month off grid. And I thought I had spent so much time from Las Vegas getting this off grid compound kind of set up that I thought when I got here, I wouldn't be dealing with other things. And I'm still continuing to deal with things that I need to do. But hopefully, this at some point, the money spigot will be shut off. Well, thank you. Brought Brian's final last week. Love it. And the Kaplan Cubic, that is the perfect, I think, paid supplement. Now, I realize not everybody has resources as you begin your career, but if you do have resources, it is not a time to be frugal. It is a time to, invest in yourself. And, that's $150. And I get it. If you can't afford that, well, good news. My channel's free. But, if you can, invest in yourself for sure.
Getting a 71% on your Series 7. How many answers did you change? Were you confident in your answers?
Yeah. Well, remember, it's a short-term problem, misfortune, Austin, and a lot of people want to see how you're going to respond to that misfortune. And I got to tell you, there are so many very successful people in our business who aren't good test takers and had a real challenge getting through this barrier to entry in the securities industry called the Series 7. We want to be the few and the proud, not the many and the humble. And so the 7 is a challenge. But I assure you that once you get it done, nobody's ever going to ask you what you got on your 7. People invest with you because they like you and they trust you, not because you're a good test taker. Now, we don't give scores anymore, Austin. But when we did, and I'll see what Brian thinks of this, I'm not being facetious. If you scored over 90, we are all worried about you. I would say, listen, how am I going to supervise you if you're smarter than me? You're always going to be one step ahead. And usually people get over 90 just proving they're big a jerk as the person who wrote the test and not somebody who we want to spend the 12 hours of our day with, because we're going to spend more time with our cohorts than we're going to be spending sometimes with our family. And, so my best broker, Austin, he took the test 5 times, one of my best brokers, and he would go out and say, hey, Brian, if anybody knows this stuff, it's me. I had to take this damn test 5 times. So now I'm not suggesting that you would purposely test your resiliency, but I am suggesting that it's awful feeling. Deal with it quickly. I will link, Austin, to a video I made podcast episode called "You Failed, Is It Over?" Spoiler alert: the answer is no, and then I have 5 recommendations about how to respond to that. Today, Austin, I had somebody who failed twice her 65. And I said, okay, what are we going to do different this third time? You got to come up with what you're going to do different. I really, Brian, think in her case, it's just really confidence and not changing answers and not creating that subset. I mean, to be honest.
Especially at 65, yeah.
I do believe, Austin, that the best correlation.
Thank you.
So if you're joining us for 65 or 66, here we come with a test concept called variance. Standard deviation. I think in a Kaplan practice exam, the variance is between 5 and 12-point improvement. And it's a good variance. It's positive. But, I think Brian has the strongest correlation, less standard deviation variance between his actual practice tests and what you're going to score on the exam, which is a good thing. So, you have a pretty good idea going in there where you're at. With that. So all his tests are the same, by the way, where it's a 7, 65, 66, whatever it happens to be. So,
and also, Austin, look at your score sheet on those 5 different areas and see what area you scored the lowest in.
Yeah, you should do. I don't know how fresh the hurt is, Austin. Assuming the fresh is pretty fresh, I mean, like maybe a couple of days. You should start with an intellectual debrief with yourself. An intellectual inventory using the test specifications. It's counterintuitive, but what you're looking for there is minuses, meaning things you can work on. You go, man, I wasn't prepared for that. Plus means thing you do. Now you got to keep everything you already good at good, and then you got to bring up those other areas to above par being passive. Well, Luis, I think in most situations, people overestimate math on the 65. So I think you should be able to do total return, performance measures. Definitely, you should be able to do current yield, You should be able to do tax and tax-free equivalent yields. Do I think you need to know how to calculate present value or do DCF or no? Do I think you need to have a general understanding of the input and the implications of that math? Yes. Right. I was working today and we were going over CAPM and I said, listen, it's not so much can you do it? It's do you know what's necessary? What are the inputs? What are the outputs? The reason I think, Louise, people overestimate is dangerous is because you can go down a rabbit hole very easily on analytical methods and math and then miss the bigger picture, which is, broad avenues and highways of 65. I would say the exact same thing if you said 66 in this question. Brian, your thoughts on math as it applies?
I get this same question almost every day.
We always do, don't we?
One, the textbooks throw math on these people, and it's not the simplest of math sometimes. They throw so much of this complex math at people, it just freaks them out. Remember, you're not going to use a calculator more than 5 times on the Series 65. Yeah. That math he just mentioned, that Dean just mentioned, right? The total return, the current yield, those sorts is about as far as you need to go with that. The tax equivalent yield, geez, what test isn't that one on, right? It's on the SIA, it's on the 7, it's on them all. So
Brian, the other thing,
away from the math, it's not
Louise, well, I don't know who your test prep vendor is, but I think all test prep vendors are guilty of what we're discussing right now.
Yes.
And then the other thing that just drives me nuts is when you read the rationale and they say, well, this may not be on your test. And then you go, well, gee, why the heck are you asking it of me then? Right? So,
yeah, see, they're going to get me riled up here because especially with that 700.
It's one of our favorite. It's one of our favorite rants for sure. It's one of our favorite rants for sure. Taking my Series 6 on Monday. I've been using Kaplan and Brian's Test Geek program and hammering the QBank as well as your videos.
Perfect.
Any suggestions or recommendations? Pay attention to communications. Pay attention to variable annuities. Customer accounts, but I think you should be pretty good. It looks like a rinse and repeat. I'd like to know what you're doing in terms of practice test scores, but I think you're in good shape. I'm with you, Jesse. The wording is tricky. I can't stress enough on all NASA exams, all exams, but particularly NASA exams. RTFQ. Read the full question. Make sure you understand before you jump in what the question is asking you about. RTFA. Read the full answer set. Now, today I was working with a young lady and I would cover the answer set. And she said, well, it was weak form of efficient market hypothesis. And I said, so what do you think the answer is going to be? And here's what she was frustrated and why we were picking these questions. We were hunting out questions like this that she was challenged with the wording. She goes, well, I think it's going to be technical analysis. I go, okay, then I do the reveal. And she goes, that's what I'm saying. It's not there. I go, hold on, take a deep breath. What one of those looks like the definition of technical analysis. Right. And she goes, oh, well, D is technical analysis. Well, there you go. Right. So you got to be careful. So when you're answering and your question that you think is not there, maybe it is. It's just said some different way. Your point said in a trickier way or more of a word salad than necessary. I would think that by the way, when I bring this up with people who write QBanks for test prep vendors and accuse them of purposely making things tricky, they say, well, Dean, we're trying to, do the exam. And I get that. I think they go a little overboard. Brian, I always tell people to check with Brian. I don't stand up for Brian's content because I could, but why? I say, just reach out to Brian. He's more than happy. So you think that's a gotcha question. It's really not. Brian is correct on that. And he's more than happy to, talk to you about it. Now, I don't think he's intentionally being a jerk, but it's fair. It's tricky, but it's fair. It's usually the same questions. Yeah.
Jesse, this is not about you specifically. This is in general, because we hear this comment all the time, right? On the Series 65, the textbooks make those questions very complex, right? And you're looking for complex answers to these complex test questions. Then you go on to the real test. The test questions, I don't believe, are as complex, but you still have that mindset. And that's the mistake that people start making. They start interjecting assumptions into these basic test questions, and it just blows it up. You got to answer the question based on its face value. The answer choices on the real test get a little bit tricky. They get a little bit more ambiguous a little bit. With the test questions, you got to take it for face value. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Can you help me explain what probate is for the Series 66? We certainly can, all NASA exams. Probate is the legal process of distributing a deceased person's assets. Right? Brian, I thought this one day. I said there's lots of questions about dead people on the exam. Yes, and I was tutoring a guy, and I said, I'm going to make a video about dead people on exams. Right. And I can't think of what the proper politically correct title is. And he's on Chat GPT. He subscribes, and we put it in there. And it said the afterlife of money, ghost accounts. I thought, man, this Chat GPT is pretty good. I think at first, if you get this on a NASA question, and then I'll defer to Brian. So the answer to your question is it's the legal process of distributing a dead person's assets. I think what you're going to get tested on is things that avoid probate.
That's right.
Like transfer on death, joint tenants with rights or survivorship. So I think it's more about what is not going to go through that legal process. Brian, your thoughts on probate as it relates
That's
to
exactly right. You're right. It's the legal process of distributing a decedent's assets. Right? And exactly right. On the 65 and 66, what accounts do we not have to send the proceeds to this legal process? And the two big ones are the TOD, or also known as a poor man's trust, right? Or some other terms for it too.
Right,
and the rights of survivorship, right, do not need to distribute the assets to that legal process.
Yeah. Right. And then probate, the challenge in probate is things could be tied up for a long, long time.
Howard Hughes, perfect example.
There you go. There you go. Also on 65, with multiple answers seem correct, what's the best approach for selecting the best available answer?
Now that's
tough because that's
$64,000 question right there.
Yeah, today, I had the person I was tutoring, she was running into this a couple times. I said, okay, so now it's the judgment questions. Those are challenging. What of those answers you think is better? Right? One was, I forget what it was. One was notification, and then it was tighter. So the tighter answer is better, right? So also you can, on your your scratch paper, you could put A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3, 4. And what I like to do sometimes, Jesse, and I was doing this today, is read each multiple or each answer and put a T or an F. Do I think this is true? Do I think this is false? Maybe I put a question mark. Sometimes you can back your way into the best available answer, right? So you're going to miss questions for sure. You just got to try and miss as few of them you can. The 3 styles of question, by the way, are recognition, practical application, judgment. When there's 2 answers that look the same, that's a judgment question. Yeah, Brian, your thoughts?
Yeah, that's the question that we all get. The 2 of them that look very identical, right? Yeah. One is more correct than the other. And again,
here's an example of people I get upset with. I have a practice question where you get asked about what you should quote to a customer: yield to maturity, yield to call, whichever is lower, says choice A. Choice D is yield to call, and you get marked wrong on choice A, and they get mad. I said this question stipulates it's a bond at a premium, and so A isn't the best answer, because if it's a bond at a premium, that the best answer is D. So there's an example of that.
That's right. It's a perfect example.
Retaking Series 6. Okay, so here we go. Failed first time using Kaplan, but passed the SIE in 63. So you got 2 or 3. I've used most of the QBank for the 6. Do you suggest getting another like STC? I suggest, because STC doesn't sell their QBank separately, I would suggest Brian's page supplement. You're not going to get a QBank, but you will get a very good practice exam. That's like $100 all in. But I am a fan. I'm not monogamous. I believe in multiple vendors if you can afford it and it doesn't cloud your mind. What I mean by that is you don't get so many voices in your head that, man, how many times in social media, Brian, do I have people I see, STC says this, Kaplan says that. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, man, let it go. Right, so, 90% of the Kaplan QBank, I would suggest SEC, Notman, Brian supplement. I would get yourself another source. And I actually, like I said, I don't think you need too many more questions, but yeah, SDC doesn't sell their Q bank separately. So you're going to have to buy, the whole shooting match. Took right Series 7. Woohoo! I need to focus on. Give me the confidence to kill it. I told you, confidence is key. Confidence is key. So, you got to go down there. I say this a lot, but when I'm teaching a class and whether I'm tutoring, in class, it comes up a lot because there's a chat. And I can't tell you how many times when I ask a practice question, somebody has the correct answer. Let's say it's B, and they put B with a question mark. And, it's a 3-day class. And I say, Brian, I don't want to be for 3 days looking at question marks in my chat. So moving forward, use the exclamation point instead. I will know it's really a question, but it'll look better. B with an exclamation point. That's the way you want to be doing this test, right? And when I'm doing tutoring, people have the right answer, but they have a little lift in their voice like they're questioning themselves. B. I go, man, you got to go B as in boy. You go down in flames. So confidence is so key. I can't prove it anecdotally. I think it's like 10 points. I think if we worked at the Prometric site, Brian, wouldn't this be fun? I bet you and I, just based on body language about confidence, might be able to say before they test whether we think they're going to pass or not. Customer accounts for the SIE. Well, that's not bueno for sure because that is definitely testable. And I'm not sure the difficulty you're facing because most of these questions are going to be recognition. For example, UTMA account, Uniform Transfer Minors Act, it's recognition. Do you know one minor, one custodian account? Do you know no margin? Do you know the kid's tax ID number goes on the account? Do you know in joint tenants with rights to survivor, what happens to the decedent's share? Goes to the surviving party. Do you know what constitutes taking discretion? And what is necessary documentation? Do you know margin accounts? So that's mostly memory work. Maybe that's the difficulty, but you hopefully you need to get that fixed before you test because that's something that could cause you to miss your mark. Certainly. What do you think, Brian?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, for almost all the exams, you got to know your customer accounts.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Right. The securities industry essential exam. What's essential to the securities industry? Finding customers and opening accounts. That's the lifeblood of a baby broker, right? So
And
that's
very
testable. Yeah. Very testable.
Yep.
Cumulative participating. Well, that's a kind of a big one, but we can give it a shot. Preferred stock has, first, let's start there. Preferential treatment in 2 areas. You need to know the preferred stock has preferential treatment in dividends. You can't pay a dividend to your common stockholders if you're in arrears to your preferred. And preferential treatment in liquidation. You're second to last in line in liquidation. So that's the first thing. Now, cumulative would mean if I miss a payment, it goes into arrears. I think of it as like my phone bill, right? If I miss this month and I miss next month, I'm in arrears. And I got to not only take care of the current bill, I got to take care of the part that's in arrears. So that's cumulative. Participating allows you to participate in excess earnings beyond some stipulated amount. The one here I think of is we don't want to be taking money out of this cyclical company when they're in a down cycle. But when they're in an up cycle and they're making a lot of money, then maybe they give us extra. So you participate beyond that fixed or stated rate of return in a normal preferred. Convertible allows you to switch your status from being a preferred stockholder to a common stockholder. On your SIE, you should know the conversion ratio. You should be able to take par, 100, divide by the conversion price. I'll make up 120. Tell me it's 5 shares. Preferred stock is equity on the issuer's balance sheet, but it's a fixed income investment vehicle. And every issuer would like the right to replace high-cost preferred with low-cost preferred. So callable preferred means the issuer can call this away from you. They would usually give you some call protection, like say, we're not going to call it for 5 years. And we do, we'll give you 105. That's called call protection. I would know that call risk is associated with a declining interest rate environment, right? So please note, it's a fixed income investment vehicle. So for the most part, what's true of a bond as it relates to interest rates is true of a preferred stock. Your thoughts, Brian, on that's a big one for our.
I was going to say, nope, you got it.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, make sure, I get this a lot, Luke, in debrief. I had more preferred stock questions than I was expecting, and I don't know what to make of that because I don't know what they were expecting. I'll say it this way. Not understanding customer accounts is really a bigger deal than having issues with preferred stock. Heavy on variable annuities. Yeah, variable annuities I think of as mutual funds with insurance wrappers, right? And so everything that's true of a separate account, which is a mutual fund, would be true of that. And again, this is a big one. This is big. So, this is like customer accounts. This does put you at risk. Most of the finding in these live streams, I find, Brian, I say, don't worry about it. The sign of the universe, but not customer accounts, not mutual funds and variable annuities, because that's what the SIC is about, right? Anything else? Yes, I said I would focus on communications, right? Retail communication, correspondence. And then the other thing I would add is customer accounts. Again, that, as Brian said, there's no exam in which customer accounts is not going to be a key to your success. Past the 65 because of you, Brian. Woo! A dozen.
I love you, man.
A dozen kids. Kids. Really? I have a she told her 5-year-old, Brian, I think this 5-year-old's got to be brilliant. He's 5 years old, and she was struggling with the business cycle. And she said that her 5-year-old came up with every pony can trot.
I love it.
It was a memory aid, expansion. And I thought, man, that kid is a prodigy. So,
you're right, Gus.
Right. Listen, Brian and I know our business is simpler than most. We know that if we can contribute to testing victories like yours, Gus, we love referrals. The thing that has made my channel number one with 6 million views coming up, 45,000 real subscribers. My competitor has like tens of thousands of fake subscribers, which is embarrassing. You really got 40,000 people who never watch one of your videos and never comment. Anyways, it's pretty simple, right? If we can help you pass your test, and you'll refer others, and that's, if you don't pass your test, hopefully you don't blame us, right? After our session, Starla, did you hear? I just gave your kids memory aid device. Every pony can trot. 3 hours with me. Well, thank you. I think, like I say, as I was saying, Starla, I don't think you ever had a knowledge deficit problem. So I think it's just being able to talk to somebody and give you some confidence, give you a little boost, right? A booster shot, and off to the races you go, right? Talk about the definition of an investment. There you go, right? So you're getting dividends on that.
Guy right here. That's right. Before you start, Dean, I saw a couple of Diesel's questions ahead of time. I need to ask him before we answer those questions. Does he know what strategy that is? Because if he doesn't know what that is, these two questions that he put up there, if he doesn't know what type of strategy it is, we ain't answering it. Okay? You got to know what you're dealing with. So let me hear in the comments, Diesel, what type of strategy, and then we'll answer it. Okay?
I thought you were asking me. I was going to say, Brian, you certainly
No. I want to ask Diesel. I want to make sure he knows.
I kind of think, Brian, even if he can't do that, we might be clouding his mind to tell him what it is. And what I mean by that is if he just thought this was a straddle and he went about his business, right? Remember we said this? Same action, different option. Same action, buy, sell. When we have the same action, we're going to combine whatever it is we're looking at. Whether it's buying a stock and buying a put, or, buying a call and buying a put, we're going to combine. And we have different action, we're going to net. So here we're selling a 65 put at 7, and we're selling an XYZ May 55 call at there. I'm just going to see if Diesel put into the chat his answer to this. He's actually put his answer, but he didn't identify it.
Yep.
Okay. So this is a straddle with different strike prices, Diesel, and we call that a combination.
That's right.
So a straddle with different strike prices is called a combination. I think you should know contract specifications. In other words, I diesel don't want you struggling that this is an obligation to buy the stock at 65 and an obligation to sell the stock at 55. Right? So that's contract specifications. I brought in 14 points. So I like to make a T. I like to make a T and track the money in and out.
What is it? 7 on each one? Yeah. There you go.
So Matt, break even, we're just going to add the 14 to the call, 14.55 plus 14. We're going to subtract the 14 from the put, 65 minus 14. Right. And then if they ask you break evens, I don't know how Brian likes to do this. I just gave you the break evens. But the other thing that where you could do this, Diesel, is you could just simply take the answer set and plug into your T the answers offered to you and see if it makes the columns balance, because that's what break even is. Same dollars out as dollars in. So, if I have to buy the stock at minus 14, what is that, 51?
Yeah.
And then I have to buy it at 65 and the stock's 51. I lose 14. I got 14. I break even. So my point is you can actually illustrate that. You're selling the volatility. The most important thing about this question is it has unlimited loss potential because you have a naked call here, right? So once that thing goes above 55 plus 14, you start to hemorrhage money. And so the maximum loss is unlimited. That's the most important test question. And then the gain would be what you've collected. Now, I don't think you can keep all those because of the strike prices. Your thoughts on that, Brian? Did he tell us it's a combination?
Yeah, he said a combo. So
I'm not sure why you're talking about intrinsic value, because that has nothing to do with it.
Exactly. That's kind of why I when I saw that intrinsic value involved in this, I thought,
intrinsic value is the relationship not of an investor, but of the strike price to the market price. So, the 55 call at 69 has 14 points of intrinsic value, but that's a separate question, right? That's not about break even. Fourth time. Oh my goodness. Wow. So you are resilient, my friend. You are certainly resilient if it's your fourth time. Wow. Fifth. Well, listen, I told you I was one of my best guys, took it 5 times. So hang in there, my friend. When you pass, you're going to have a story to tell for sure, right? You're going to be the Odysseus of taking tests, right? It was a long journey back from Ithaca to Ithaca, but you made it. Past the 65. Woo! Oh, I thought it was you, Brian. Now it's me.
There you go. Hey,
2 dozen kids between us. I used to, Gus, I used to raise goats, and the baby goats are called kids. And, you have to milk the goats in 12-hour intervals. If you don't milk them right on time, they start, and I chose 6 and 6. But so I always think of that when I think of kids, and one of my goats was named Andy. And Brian, this was a bad mistake. When he was a kid, I thought it'd be fun to kind of butt heads with him. So, I would hit him on his forehead, and he just thought that was great fun. And we'd have fun. And then he got bigger. And then it's not so fun because I'd be bending over saying, bam, come get me. Is the exception list for broker dealers? I'm not sure what you mean by the exception list. The exact same for investment advisors? No. And that's very dangerous for you not to know whether you're being asked about a broker dealer or an investment advisor. I'm assuming that you're asking about registration of broker dealers. That's pretty simple. No office, no retail clients, no register. Now, where people get messed up is thinking, oh, well, de minimis. No. Broker dealers have no de minimis. Investment advisors, state covered, have de minimis. So I'm not sure what you mean about the exact list. There's not really a list. It's the context of who and where and what do you register? Who, where, and what do you register? And if not, why not? I would not be comfortable, Lukey. I'll defer to Brian because Brian is really good at NASA stuff. I'll defer to him, but I think the answer to that is no, and can really be harmful in terms of you not knowing whether the question is specifically asking about a broker dealer and an investment advisor. Your thoughts, Brian?
The first place I would start is the definition. Simple, one statement definition for broker dealers and IAs. That's the first place you start. They are 2 completely different entities. That should answer your question alone. If they're 2 completely different entities, then their exempt list is going to be
Lukey. Brian, I talked him into, we got to get back on the schedule doing this. Brian, we were doing some evening classes, and Brian agreed to participate. And we have a video, Brian, that's been making the rounds on social media, not me promoting it, just people. It's called Definition of Registrations and Persons, Lukey. Brian, you know how many views that has now?
No.
53,000 views.
Yes.
Man, and all kinds of comments about how helpful it was. There are people now in our Reddit communities and Facebook communities who are linking to that, saying, hey, man, this really helped me out. So in that video, Lukey, Brian does just that. It's called Definitions of Persons and Registrations. When I mention a video like this, I usually put it in the video description on the replay. I, don't sometimes get it done the same night that we're doing this, but by tomorrow, I will have a link of that video for you. Brian, the other one that's making the rounds is your video on closeouts on our 24 community. Somebody was asking about, hey, I guess they're watching the replays. I saw this thing on yesterday, and where's this video? So I put your link on there for them.
Anything we can do that simplifies and helps some of these really sticky points. That's what Dean and I do, right?
Yeah, well, like I said, there's a reason that Brian and I don't work for test prep vendors. Sometimes, they have an agenda that might be a little different. Is there an easier way to remember who notifies the administrator when the individual leaves the BD? I would know BDs, we use Form U5. And investment advisor a little different because it depends whether you're federally or state covered.
Exactly.
Right? So you got to be a little careful. BD thing, I don't think is really a test question as much, but that's both. These would be responsible. If you're federally covered, it makes sense that the investment advisor rep has to do it because it's the only person who's registered with the state.
That's right.
Whereas if it's a state covered advisor, you're both going to do it. Brian, do you think that's very testable? I don't think it's very testable.
I do. I absolutely. I think the BD agent one is probably more 63-ish and or 66. The IAR terminating is probably more 65-ish. But yes, they are testable, no doubt. I have it in all my material.
Okay. Well, Diesel, I will link to a video that I have on advanced option strategies. Chat is open. You can tell me whether you want me to link to Score for More. That's just a video about straddles, combination of straddle, different strike prices. Score for More. The 4 questions are: can you identify it? Can you calculate the break evens? Can you determine where it's profitable? When do you use it? Score for More. Or I can link to the entire advanced options strategy video that includes spreads and straddles. Studying with the SIE helped me better understand custodial bank and the difference between closed end. Well, custodian bank is the one holding the monies and securities. Yep, they're still here, right? So in a mutual fund, there's going to be a custodian, a custody bank. Big one is State Street Bank and Trust. State Street Bank and Trust was the custodian for all of BlackRock's ETFs. And then BlackRock said, well, you have ETFs too. You're a competitor, so why are we paying you to be a custodian of our ETFs? And they moved the custodian relationship to JP Morgan. So that's important, by the way, because, I can't steal what I don't touch. And so in an ETF, you own, it's an equity investment and those securities are somewhere, right? Now, the difference between open and closed end funds is very, very testable. I will link to a video I have that goes through those distinctions. I have a slide that's worth lots of points. The main one is that an open-end fund is continually offering new shares to the public, and you aren't buying and selling them, you're redeeming them. Whereas a closed-end fund trades supply and demand, but it's very testable. The custodial bank thing is not going to be a big problem. But mutual funds, boy, we've had some big target-rich environments. Customer accounts, that you got to know that, right, on all these exams. And boy, you got to know the difference between closed-end and open-end funds on all these exams. What are the differences? Brian, your thoughts on that? I'm kind of not trying to get into a 15-minute discussion of a closed-end.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm thinking here, geez, this stuff is on almost every exam. The closed versus open, not so much the custodian bank, maybe Series 6 a little bit. As far as the transfer agent goes, but absolutely got to know your closed end, open end. One's
closed end funds. Remember, do trade supply and demand. So this whole idea about the NAV isn't relevant to a closed end fund. It could trade at a discount or a premium to NAV. An open end fund would never be available for less than NAV, because it would be NAV plus sales charge equals the public offering price. And if there's no sales charge, well, it's the same, right? But that's a big issue. I think we have one other big one. Mutual funds customer counts is another thing I told people they need to know. Yeah. By the way, Diesel, I'll add to that. On that question, you could guess P assigned to the universe, and you still would pass your 7. If you told Brian and I you've got missed questions about combinations, I'm going to say, you had other problems. Right. Looking for help on the 82, passed the SIE 2 weeks ago. Yeah, 82 doesn't get any love. And it doesn't get any love because there's not many people taking the Series 82. Were you able to even define a test prep vendor? I would imagine, it's for private securities offerings. And I would just tell you, Louisville, if they'll let you, take a 7. I know of nobody who is ever taking a limited registration test and has not regretted it. So whether you take a 79 or 7, I would try and get out of the 82, right? But that's for private securities offerings. I think here for the rest of us, like Reg Ds primarily. Brian, you have any tips on 82? Yeah. Good to memorize on my scratch paper for Series 6. Well, if you're using Kaplan has what are called quick sheets. Brian has what he calls class notes. And so there are some of that. TJ, put in your Google machine, data dump Series 6. And I'm sure all kinds of people who've taken the 6 have their version. You should have your own. So use that as kind of a jumping off point. Has 12367. Why are you on the live stream if you're taking the SIE tomorrow? Right? I mean, you should be getting some good rest, because remember, your reading skills are going to be very, very important. I've been trying to recognize bonds. Bonds are debt instruments on the SIE, but it's hit or miss for me. So bonds, there's 3 issuers of bonds tomorrow. Corporate issuers of bonds, municipal issuers of bonds, and the U.S. government is an issuer of bonds. Right? Those are the bonds. And now the corporate bonds, remember, they're senior to the equity, common and preferred. And in that category, there's secured and unsecured bonds. You're primarily going to have 2 risks in bonds: interest rate risk and credit risk. Munis are considered a safer form of credit, less credit risk than corporates. Treasuries have no credit risk. The U.S. government can confiscate money from people and print little green pieces of paper. So, Marcel, happy Mardi Gras. All right. I always tell Mom hello. Always. We got you on the schedule, I think, to make good on your Marcel. He's like a lucky guy. If you're at a casino with him, man, have him buy your chips or breathe on them or roll the dice for you. He's
whoa, wait a minute.
No, he's won like 4
drawings. Are you holding back some, Dean? I've not heard
it. How many of our drawings has he won it? We do a drawing at the end. He's won it like 4 times.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, like 4 times. Now remember, Marcel is grandfathered, so he actually gets a free tutoring session, and I charge $275 an hour, so he's getting a good deal. But that's because he's grandfathered. We'll probably run over because he's won 4. Maybe we should have a new rule, Brian, that you can't win the coaching call more than like once. Right? So welcome, Marcel. You're always Mom always is asking what you're up to, and I told her we'll be talking. Maybe I'll come in here in the studio and say hi to you when we're doing our Zoom session. Yeah, don't overthink it. That's dangerous. There you go. Well, there you go. I'm more of a professor teacher, so that's good. I'm an Brian and I are both old-fashioned stand and deliver guys, right?
Not pretty much.
Brian's probably the only guy still using a whiteboard, a real whiteboard, not a.
I just can't do PowerPoint slides. I just can't.
That's not a long straddle, Diesel. You messed up. A long straddle, it would be buy, not sell. And if a straddle has different strike prices, Diesel, it's a combo. There you go. It's a combo. Hey, Ivy, Illinois. All right. What do we call the people from Illinois? Fighting the Illini or something? I think that was a Native American tribe. It looks like we're coming up, Brian, on our drawing.
Wow.
We got quite a few 6s today. A bit of confusion between the update and the U4. It's 30 days. 10 days is for a yes answer involving statutory disqualification. So as you recall on your U4, Alondra, not test term, but when you filled out your U4, I hope you were able to answer every question no. You know, in our business, if you can answer every question no, it's not a test term, an industry term. That's a clean U4. If you had a yes answer, not a test term, but an industry term, that's a dirty U4. And some answers are dirtier than others. So I used to say, anybody check one of these things? Yes. And the guy says, oh, yeah, but it's no big deal. I go, well, you're confused. The definition of a felony is that it's a big deal. If it's one of those other questions, you know, just in the normal course of business, you know, and it's no, and it becomes a yes, that's 30. But if you've been convicted of a felony, a misdemeanor involving embezzlement of monies or securities, you've been suspended, revoked, or denied registration, that triggers the 10 days because time is more of the essence, right? By the way, it doesn't have to be felony, securities, fraud, or laundering, any felony, not securities. It could be any felony, DUI, you know, whatever. Brian and Dean, thanks for your help. Here's a question from the 66. Firm has 5 partners. 1 retires. 3 new are added. Well, notification would be if there's no change in control, right? So if there's 5 partners, 3 partners in control, 1 retires, the 3 partners still are in control, right? And we would imagine they own 25%. And so I don't think that's going to be a change in control. I think that's going to be just notification. The assumption I'm making, by the way, is the 3 new added partners are getting the equity of the retiree. I'm not giving them. We're not going. The 4 remaining partners are giving our ownership to them, right? So notification. What I say, Brian? Notification. Say
That's
you. What
exactly right. The 4 existing partners still control more than 50%. Right. The notification only.
Yeah. Gets a pony named Arissa. Starlight. I listen. I think your kid, if he may be a genius. I mean, I just can't imagine a 5-year-old coming up with, memory aid devices.
A mnemonic, yeah.
Yeah. The institutionalist. I'm not sure what you mean by that.
The exempt broker-dealer versus IA.
Well, in general, Luke, all of the NASA exams are about protecting retail investors, Joe Sixpacks. And in general, all these NASA exams stipulate that in most circumstances, institutional investors are capable of protecting their own assets, right? And they don't need the protection of the state administrator. You're going to get way less questions about institutional situations than you are about retail, because it's about protecting retail. So institutional. The trick there would be even like an accredited investor is retail. I think a retail, Lukey, is living, breathing human beings walking planet Earth. And I think of institutional investors as unnatural persons. They're not living, breathing human beings. You know, they're an entity. Brian, your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's exactly what the administrator is always doing, is looking for Joe Sixpack. That's all he cares about. Yep.
And then do you have advice for types of risk? Yeah, you need to know risk based on products. Like the risk in a partnership is lack of liquidity, right? The risk in a junk bond is default. So you need to power up on the securities.
Here's another one on your list too that's on every exam, right? The types of
risk. We got some big ones. We got some big categories here for sure. Isaac, well, yeah, we're doing well. We're doing well. Living the dream. Living the dream. Yeah, long and low is good for a memory aid device for volatility in bonds. And on NASA exams, it's got a fancy word called duration. So when I ask you which bond has the longest duration or most volatility, either you go to the longest maturity, and then if it's a tie, you go to the lowest coupon, and that would be the answer on your exam. So that's what long and low is to help us answer questions, which are there, about volatility in bonds. Longer term bonds with lower coupons are more volatile than bonds with higher coupons and shorter maturities. Now, make sure you don't fall for the change up. Every once in a while, someone will call me, you told me long and low. I go, well, remember, this asked you the opposite, like which one is the less domain on it. So definitely something you can use to answer those questions, right? Brian, long and low, do you use that?
Yeah. So this is basically correlation. And if it is a concept about correlation, it's generally only 65, 66. The 7 doesn't even.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, 7 you can still get volatility, but not duration. The duration.
That's right. Not duration. Right.
A little trouble recognizing them. Well, you just got to keep working. Score 4 more. Okay, so I'll put that in the video description. Maybe not tonight. Yeah, Ivy, isn't that something? I mean, listen, Starla, I don't know. I just have a place in my heart because, my mom, raised me, and I thought did a good job at modeling, like reading and studying, and so I feel pretty blessed in that regard. But Starla has got 6 kids. Can you imagine trying to get this done with 6 kids? Man, I can't even imagine. So kudos to her for being able to even carve out the time to spend some time with me today. I mean, that's crazy. And I'm thinking there must be some good DNA there too, Starla, because I imagine if the 5-year-old's a pretty bright kid, the rest of them are probably pretty bright kids too, I would think. Please add the link for score 4 more. I think it's time for a drawing. Now, remember, when Brian puts our drawing word up on that dry erase board, if you're going to participate, you have to put that in the chat exactly as he has it on his board. And so wait till I actually get my Wheel of Fortune going, Brian. Okay, let me go get the Wheel of Fortune and giveaway tool. And let me put that over here. And let me choose our live stream. I am ready, Brian. So what is the word for tonight for our draw?
All of our friends in the eastern part of the United States.
Freeze. Now, not only is that for our friends on the East Coast, it is also what happens when you buy and sell without paying for the buy. You freeze your account for 90 days, right? All right, now let me go get that to share with everybody. Share screen. Boom, boom, boom.
It was 77 in Megajet.
All right, boom. If you win, you simply go to my booking page and you register for the coaching call. It says coaching call for weekly drawing winners, and you register, and that's what you get. All right, anybody else want to participate in the drawing? Remember, what you're winning is a coaching call. That's a $275 value because that's what I charge for tutoring. So, all right, going once, going twice. All right, here's the drawing. Boom. Oh man, I was hoping Diesel would win so we could actually go over some advanced options. So access. So go to deantinleytutoring.setmore.com. Go to the class tab page, and you will find coaching call for weekly drawing winner, and just register for that. Come with whatever you want me to talk to you about, and I'm more than happy to do so. So just, it asks you, send me a note, whatever. When I show up in the link, I'll say, hey, what do you want to talk about? All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We're here every Tuesday doing our thing. Brian and I trying to help you, having some fun, but also hopefully helping you with some content as well. Remember, inch by inch, your exam is a cinch. Yard by yard, your exam is hard. And Brian, you say?
You got to learn to keep it simple. Stay with what you know. You take the test. Don't let the test take you.
All righty, everybody. We will see you next time. What happened? Let me get Brian back there. We'll see you next Tuesday, 5 p.m. All right, everybody. Bye-bye. All right.